Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sonar6 webinar, Analytics to Graph. So we've got attendees here from all around the world. It looks like many from North America, some from New Zealand, a few from Australia. That's pretty early in the morning there, I'm guessing. So we'll kick straight into this. So my name is Mike Carden. You'll see there on the screen that I was the CEO of Sonar6 and one of the founders of Sonar6. And in fact, I guess that if you're in the know, you'll also know that Sonar6 was recently acquired by Cornerstone On Demand. So a couple of months ago we were acquired. So not only am I the CEO of Sonar6, but I'm also the Vice President of Small Business Operations for Cornerstone On Demand. Hey, now I've got a couple of other people on the line with me, and the first one of those is Jason Jones, who's a Director of Business Development for us in North America. Why don't you say hello, Jason?
Oh, hey, everybody. What's up with the photos here, Mike? I mean, geez, you got me in a suit and everybody else gets to be all casual?
Oh, yeah. That's part of business development, isn't it, Jason? Talking of casual, I've got the most casual-looking picture on there is of Mark Elliott, who's our head of product and also one of the founders of the business. Are you there, Mark?
Yeah, hi, Mike. Look, I'm pretty excited to present Analytics Part 2 today to this audience.
Great.
So, I'm pretty excited about it.
Well, yeah, of course, Mark's team is the team that's been working there in the background building this wonderful product. So very, very exciting to have Mark on the line and Jason on the line. I'm going to hand straight over to you, Jason, to run a poll.
Oh, that's cool, man. Thank you very much, Mike. Thanks. Yeah, we're going to kick off just by asking a quick poll of the audience members. It's a real simple one. We're going to ask a quick question of you. Just who are you? Basically, kind of what brings you here. We're going to go ahead and launch that poll now, and I'll wait to see. What the results are looking like. So let me go ahead and push that out now. The options here are quite easy. Just are you a current customer of Sonar6? Are you new to Sonar6? Are you seen the product before but want to see some of the new stuff? Are you a dirty, filthy spy? Or did you come here for the hair straightening demo and just got lost? So we'll go ahead and launch that now, and just take a look here at what the results look like. All right, cool. We've got quite a few of you bringing in answers here already, which is great. A lot of votes coming in. Let's go ahead and let's just take a look at the results here really quickly. So take a look at the results here, Mike. Wow. So we've got quite a few people in here who are
8.3% filthy spies.
Yeah, I guess that's probably just because we're making such a stir in the marketplace. We got folks coming in to take a look at the product, and a lot of people new to the company, new to Sonar6, or just wanting to see some of the new stuff, and of course some of our loyal customers. So this is great. We've got a great audience today. I'm really stoked.
Hey Jason, why don't you spend like 30 seconds just giving the background on Sonar6, just given that a third of the people here are kind of new to Sonar6.
Oh yeah, cool. That's a great idea. All right. Yeah, I mean, kind of a brief background. So at last, performance reviews that don't suck. I mean, I guess that kind of sums up a little bit about Sonar6. So we make employee performance management and performance review software, and kind of our goal here was to make software that makes performance reviews that don't suck. In order to do that, we launched, I guess it's about 5 or 6 years ago now, some really new kind of innovative ways of measuring employee performance and really engaging workforce around employee performance reviews. And as a result, we've got a lot of companies using our technology to gather really, really useful employee performance review information. And gosh, I guess the whole purpose for today's presentation is to show you how we help companies analyze all that useful performance review information. So I don't know. Why don't we? I guess it'd probably be a good idea just to maybe do a little overview of the analytics, exactly what analytic tools we provide, and how companies use some of those, just as an overview before we get into the newest piece of our analytics product. I'll just go ahead and why don't we? Yeah, we'll just go ahead and take a quick look.
The purpose of analytics is simple. Take all the employee performance review information and roll it up so you can get a helicopter view of the entire business and make better people decisions. Our analytics tools are based on 5 principles. Number 1, automatic reporting that rolls up data as it's entered by managers and employees without requiring any effort by the viewer. Graphic reporting that makes understanding data simple. Smart reporting, only allowing the user to see information on their direct and indirect reports and nobody else. Number 4, configured reporting, because each client gets to configure the reporting metrics to suit their business. And number 5, interactive reporting, engaging the user to dig in more and find the kind of information that can revolutionize a business. This first portion of analytics is called grid. And basically what it allows you to do is see the distribution of your employees across a 9-block grid. The 9-block grid takes your performance ratings and uses it as one metric to drive your position on the report. It then takes your competency ratings and uses that as the other rating to drive your position on the report. So it's a combination of your performance ratings and your competency ratings that'll dictate where you appear in the grid. Your highest performers with the highest competency ratings will all appear in the starring area, literally allowing you to easily identify your high performers with high potential. And as I mentioned, this report is all totally interactive. Simply click anywhere on the report and generate a list of all the employees that fall within. Or click on an employee and find more information about that employee individually. Filters and keys are another part of analytics, which are really important. As I mentioned, configured reporting is part of analytics. Now, your filters and what you choose to use for your filters is totally over to the client to configure, if you will. So if you don't track pay band, don't worry, you can swap this out with something else. But the concept behind filters is pretty cool. Filters allow you to take data on or off your report according to whatever you'd like to filter on. So, for instance, if I wanted to just focus in on the HR team, select Human Resources from the Department dropdown, and voila. Instantly, I'm just looking at all the employees that I can see that are part of the HR department. Keys is slightly different. Keys allow me to change the way the data on the report looks. Let me show you. So if I wanted to use the location key, it would change the color of the employee on the chart on the right based on their location, where they work. So I could quickly and easily identify my Parkland employees in Human Resources as compared to my Bridgeport employees in Human Resources, or my Townsville staff. So between filters and keys, you can customize these reports 1,000 different ways. Now, in addition to Analytics Grid, we have just launched, and we'll go into more detail shortly, Analytics Graph. Let me tell you a little bit about that. So Analytics Graph does something entirely different. Rather than using the 9-block grid as a way to analyze performance review information, Graph uses a distribution graph to analyze performance review information. Instantly, by turning on the graph report, I can see the distribution of ratings across any team or any people in the organization as a whole. And just like Grid, it's highly interactive. So I can mouse over any section of the distribution and see how many people are rated where, or click and see which specific employees are rated where. Graph allows you to dig into lots and lots of detail. In this particular example, I can break out the overall ratings based on performance and competency just by turning on step 1 and step 2. Now instantly, I'm looking at the overall ratings against all of my HR employees when it comes to their performance versus their competencies. Or I could take it a step further. Take performance ratings specifically as an example. Now, I'm just looking at the goals and objectives of the HR team and the distribution of ratings across those specific objectives. So whether you're analyzing the distribution of ratings in Analytics Graph, or you're analyzing the distribution of employees across the 9-block grid in Analytics Grid, the analytics tools themselves allow you to roll information up in a simple graphic report to help you make better and better people decisions. Analytic graphs allows us to analyze employee performance review data very differently. Specifically, it allows us to see the distribution of ratings. This initial overview shows us the distribution of ratings across the entire pool of employees that we've got access to instantly. By mousing over any of the areas of the distribution curve, I can see how many employees rated where. I can see the average rating or standard deviation. In the upper right-hand corner, I can see even how the trend of ratings has changed over time. So, have the overall ratings improved or not over time? If I want to confirm that, I can always come over here to the left-hand side and simply mouse over any of the past reviews and see where those reviews fell and the overall distribution of those reviews fell overall. Now, just like in Grid, there's lots of different ways to customize and configure this particular overview report. And one thing I'd love to do is just dive into a particular department and start analyzing some of this information even further. So rather than just looking at the overall ratings, let's look at the HR team by just clicking on the department filter over on the left-hand side and selecting Human Resources as an example. By focusing in on the Human Resources team, I can instantly customize this report to just show me the distribution of ratings across that team. Now, I'd like to do some more configuration by applying keys. And keys, by the way, in graphs is quite interesting. Keys, again, allows me to add color to this report. So if I select, for instance, the location key, it's going to color code the distribution of ratings based on where the employees work. So by filtering on the HR team and by keying off of location, I've created a custom report that allows me to see how human resource employees rate in the distribution of their ratings based on where they work. And from this, I can look at my Parkland staff, my Townsville staff, or my Bridgeport staff overall. Now, right from this, I can tell my Bridgeport employees tend to rate higher than Parkland or Townsville. In fact, they're kind of propping up the ratings for this department overall. One of the things that I might want to do with this kind of information is maybe try and find some Bridgeport employees to go, well, relocate even temporarily to some of those other locations and see if they can help boost the ratings in those locations overall. You can use the tool simply by filtering on that particular location. So filter on Bridgeport, and then locate the employees with the highest ratings overall. Go and approach Julie Sampson here and ask if she might be willing to relocate to one of our other offices to try and help boost ratings in that department or in that office for the HR department. Cool. Now, a couple of other things. Why don't we go ahead and just open up this reporting back up a little bit and talk a little bit about other ways you can kind of configure this reporting. So we'll go ahead and open this back up. And let's talk about performance versus competencies. So all of the performance ratings in this tool are collected against two factors, performance and competencies, ability to perform against goals and objectives, or the ability to demonstrate competencies. Now, I can analyze the distribution of ratings across those two factors by clicking on Step 1 and Step 2. Now I can see the distribution of ratings against goals and objectives as compared to the distribution of ratings against competencies in the HR team. It's all interactive again. I can see trend overall. One of the things that's really interesting that I can see just from this data is notice how almost all of the employees under competencies rate about in the middle. This points out the value of standard deviation. Standard deviation, again, shows you just the spread of ratings. When looking at ratings, the more spread, the better. Now, in this case, in competencies, we don't see a whole lot of spread here. Almost all the ratings are falling right about in the middle. That's an indication that we might not be measuring the right things against the HR department. If all the ratings are in the middle, they don't really have a whole lot of value. So why don't we go ahead and dive into competencies a little bit further and see if there's ways we might be able to, well, customize what we rate our HR team against and maybe help distribute these ratings a little bit more. To do that, I can just click on competencies and go a little bit deeper. When I click on competency, what it's going to show me is the list of competencies that this team is being rated against. Initially, it's going to be sorted by name. Communicative is the very first competency on the list because of its alphabetical order. Detail focused would be the next. If I want to sort these competencies in any other way, I could select average as an example and set it to really order these based on highest average to lowest. Or click on standard deviation and you can order these competencies based on highest standard deviation to lowest. Now, scrolling down this list of competencies on the right, we can start to take a look at them and see if there's anything that pops out of the information. So let's say we've got communicative, flexible, personable, resilient, influential. The first thing that I'm picking out is just that there's lots of competencies, it seems like. That's one way that you can, unfortunately, you can drive information into sort of, just lower and lower spread. One of the things we might want to do with this particular group is maybe just alleviate some of these competencies, especially ones that have really low standard deviation. Reliable, as an example. Everybody who gets rated on reliable rates in the middle. So why not just do away with it? It doesn't seem to be really rating anything that's of value. The more spread you have, the more valuable the ratings themselves. So the one of the things that the analytics graphs allows you to do is to really make your performance reviews perform even better. All right, cool. And then finally, one other thing that you can do in this this analytics graphs is focusing more on individuals. Let me explain. So I told you that this is all highly interactive. If I mouse over any of these different graphs, I can see average rating and standard deviation. I can see how many people rate where. If I click, I can see a list of the employees that rated in any particular area. Well, one other thing that you can do in graphs is focus in on individual employees and learn a lot more about them individually. Let me show you what I mean. If I select any employee from this list, right away I can see how the employee looks in comparison to the rest of the distribution of ratings. I can see a little bit of information about them as well, and if I want, I can click Show Person and go into more detail. This allows me to see an overlay of this employee's performance against the rest of the team. It allows me to see more information about the employee specifically on the left and start accessing lots of cool reporting. First of all, I can access history, so I can see how this employee rated historically versus how they're rating today, simply by turning on the history report. Instantly, I can see how the employee rated previously versus how they're rating today, checking out their trend overall. In addition to history, I can look at relationships. Now, I'm not talking about some sort of cool integration with like eHarmony or something like that. I mean the relationships internal to the business. For instance, I can see how this employee rates her staff by clicking on Direct Reports. Instantly up on the screen pulls information about this employee and how she rates her staff overall. Or pull up her peers and see how she rates in comparison to her peer group. So using this analytics graphs piece, I can focus in on groups of employees and their distribution of ratings. I can focus in on the organization as a whole and their distribution of ratings. I can look at the strengths and weaknesses of individual departments or even individual employees. And most importantly, roll up all this performance review data and help me make better and better people decisions.
Wow, that's pretty cool, Jason.
It's a pretty impressive tool. I mean, overall, it's just I'm just really excited about the ability to offer this to businesses out there. Really, I think it's probably a good chance just to kick into the Q&A session. We've got so many people in attendance in today's webinar, which is really cool, and love to encourage everybody to just fire over a bunch of questions. We've been seeing those coming across as the presentation has continued, and we'll just pick some of these to address, shall we?
Yeah, I'll have a look at those. Actually, I think we just need to make an apology. There's a couple of people here who had some kind of a problem just seeing the video at the very beginning of that demo. So hopefully that didn't affect too many people. But apologies if that affected you. So let's just have a look at these questions here. Question here is probably a good one for you, Jason, which is how much setup is required to get analytics working for us once we've done a review round in Sonar 6?
Oh, that's a great question. You know, with all the kind of capabilities of the analytics tool, you'd think that there'd be a lot of work involved. And actually, I think one of the great things that Mark and his team have done with this is just made it literally effortless. So, I mean, literally, as reviews are being done, you're able to look at the analytics live, and so as people are putting in review information, the analytics piece is just being built out really for you. And once the round is complete, you're able to analyze it post as well. So, I mean, literally all that stuff is happening in the background without you, the client, ever having to lift a finger.
Pretty cool. And so here's a good question for Mark, I think, and this is from Michelle. Can you filter on age and/or tenure with the company?
Great question, Mike. So the filters are entirely set up for an individual organization. So if age and tenure are some of those things that you find are really important to track and analyze your data on, then certainly those are things that we can filter on easily.
Right, so you can just set that stuff up. I mean, as far as I can see, everything here is very, very configurable, isn't it? So it's pretty easy to configure any of this stuff. Okay, hey, look, we've got lots of questions coming through here. So I've got a question here saying, asking from Peter that they did stats a long time ago, and can you explain standard deviation? It sounds like a difficult math question. Do you want to take that one, Mark? I think I had a go at explaining this to someone just the other day.
Oh, look, that's best left for our, some of the boffins in our labs, but quite simply, standard deviation is the amount of variance within your organization around a particular competency. So a higher standard deviation means that you have a greater number of variance within your answers. So in performance reviews, we're looking for competencies that actually do have good variance. If everyone answers with the same answer, then it's probably not a great question for our organization. It doesn't tell us anything new.
Right, yeah, so you want to have measures that actually spread people out, and standard deviation is a good way of seeing that, right? Okay, great. Hey, so good question here from Michael. I know you get asked this one all the time, Jason, so I'm going to pass this on to you. What if the rater is a soft touch?
Sorry, say that again, Mike?
What if the rater is a soft touch?
Oh yeah, the old halo effect. Yeah, so you know, I mean, one of the things that you find when you start analyzing this kind of information and getting access to it is that a lot of you might be sitting back and nodding your head saying, "I knew it." When you're looking at for instance, a particular team, and it's like magic. It's like everybody on that team seems to rate really, really high all the time. You know, the product itself doesn't really do anything in regards to sort of quelling that, other than actually just allowing you to see it and have proof of it, and be able to look at the kind of comparison of ratings against different managers in the organization. So really, at the end of the day, that's more of a training issue with a manager. You know, sort of explaining to them that you know, there's some sort of lands of reality that we'd like to operate in, and not everybody's going to be walking on water all the time. So maybe kind of spending a little bit more time with that manager about what sort of ratings you might expect, what is a realistic as far as any particular team is concerned, is a great way to kind of address that. And you know, without the data that you see in analytics, it's just really hard to kind of pull that information out. And not only that, but to prove that this particular manager seems to be rating all of their employees as if they're halos, as an example.
Yeah, I saw a question actually in there from Dan that asked if it was possible to compare and overlay the rating distribution for different managers and supervisors. And I think what Dan was trying to understand is you know, if you can then determine whether people rate in the same way or what those differences are. It's pretty easy to do that. Is that right, Mark? So
the easiest way to do that, with the compare functionality to pin to do direct comparisons on the screen. It's normally about historical comparisons. But certainly you can toggle between two different groups of people and see how they compare across skill sets or across organizational strengths. So certainly you can toggle between two different groups of people.
Great. Hey, so I've got a question here from Rhonda, and this is one I'd normally throw to someone in our implementation team, but we don't have anyone on the line. So either Jason or Mark, you can answer this, and that's what's the average setup time involved to get to the point where this is usable? So do we have to do any programming? What do we have to do to get this usable?
Well, I can take a stab at that, Mark, and then if you want to correct me if I'm saying anything incorrect. There's a couple of things to kind of address in that question. Number one is how much time does it take to set up the Sonar6 tool? And implementing the Sonar6 system is actually fairly simple. I mean, we've got a really great way to support clients as they're going through the implementation process, and that we partner individual companies up with HR consultants to implement the tool, which is a great way to kind of leverage some strengths of a consulting team across the implementation. So what that ends up allowing is for very speedy implementations. The other piece to the implementation being fast is that there's nothing really to install, no technology to purchase. It's not like you're going to have to get your IT team on board and buy new servers and get backups and all that other stuff. It's a SaaS product. It's all online in the cloud. So we kind of take that requirement, that piece of work off the table as well. So what you end up with is an implementation timeline that lasts anywhere sort of from 30 to 45 days is what we're looking at as far as elapsed calendar time. When it comes to the actual work required from a client to get the product sort of up and running, we're usually looking at around 20 hours of work between, in that 30 to 45 calendar time lapse. And, if there's two people in a room working for an hour, that's 2 hours, right? So it's a pretty fast implementation process, which is great. The analytics piece, it's going to be useful as soon as people log in and start using the product. As soon as managers and employees start logging in and entering data, it turns on immediately and becomes a way to really analyze that data. So I guess that's a long way of answering the question. Mark, did I?
That was a very long way.
So I'll just do just to add quickly to that. Look, it really depends on how far down the performance management journey you are. We have companies that are very clear on what sorts of things they want to measure and how they measure them within their organization. And we've had companies that have implemented in 4 days. And then if you do need help doing discovery and working out the best way to measure your team, then that clearly can take a bit longer. So there's a whole range of how far you are actually within this space.
So I have a few questions coming through here related to SaaS, and since we're kind of on the subject of SaaS, obviously this product is in the cloud. I've got questions here on whether they can use the data with other analytics tools like Microsoft Tableau. Is it compatible with PeopleSoft compensation? What are our kind of standard answers to those sort of questions, Mark?
So can we use it with other analytics tools? So within Sonar6, we can export all the data as sort of a flat file, so you can then import it into your analytics tool of choice if you'd like to do some deep or use your familiar tools. We find that our analytics tools are pretty comprehensive, but you certainly can do that if you like. Now, just to answer the other question, like, is the product compatible with, say, PeopleSoft compensation module? Well, we do have integration with all sorts of products whereby we can push the data out or pull the data in through automated integration. So that would be one approach to connecting it to a PeopleSoft compensation module.
Okay, great. So we can kind of take data in, take data out. Sometimes there might be a little bit of a cost to set that up, I suspect. Hey, so at the other end of the scale, and here's a great question for you, Jason. I've got Wayne asking, is there a trial version that can be used for a smaller number of employees to test before a larger purchase?
There's a couple great ways to try to sort of trial this. I mean, we've got a free 30-day trial available right on our website. So just go to www.sonar6.com and you'll see ways to line up and kind of enroll in that right away. It's a great way to kind of load a few employees' information into the tool. You can even log in as those employees, put in some ratings, and see how the analytics rolls out for a small number of folks for a short period of time. And, of course, that is all free of charge. So absolutely a trial version for you to kind of give a poke around and see how it works for you.
So I'd just like to add to that, Jason, that the free trial as it stands today, just remember there's a lot more that can be done. So it really is just a pre-configured set of way to measure your team. And we have lots of other options that are available. So just bear that in mind when you're running through that trial.
Great. Hey, so look, I've got just a ton of questions here still to go. Well, I'm sorry if I'm not going to get to everyone's questions. But this is a nice one from Josh, which just says, how easy is it to export the graphs into presentations? So I suppose that's one of the things, you create these graphs and they look fantastic, and of course they're interactive, and we'd expect most people to kind of drill through that stuff within the tool. But actually, can you export that graph? Can you put it in a presentation to your CEO or to your executive team?
So the way that I do it, because I have to share these graphs with lots of people, we don't have a way built into the tool, but I very simply just grab a screen capture and drop it straight into PowerPoint. That's something that I do every day out of the graphs or the grid tool, and it couldn't be easier.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, that's a pretty straightforward way of doing it, right? Okay. Cool. Okay. Well, I've got a few questions here, just on, I guess, how the permissions work. So, someone asking, Abel asking if reviews need to be shared up, and that's, I guess, must be an existing customer because that's one of our terms. But do reviews need to be shared up for results to appear on the grid and on the graphs?
So for our existing customers, yes. As an administrator, they don't need to be shared up. You can actually see the whole entire organization shared or unshared. But as a manager, we still want to give great analytics to some of our managers. And so they would just see their team, and they would all be there regardless of shared up or not. If you were a leader of a division and you had maybe 100 people underneath you, then you would see everyone below you in that division. So we have a whole raft of ways to assign permissions to different members of your organization. And as an administrator, you can see anyone.
Okay, so as an administrator, I can kind of see people, even if they haven't shared the data, I can kind of see what they're working on. But as a normal kind of user, I kind of have a hierarchical view, so I can kind of see the people underneath me in the organization. Okay, that's great. There's some questions here were from Dan, just related to whether you can compare people's performance year over year.
So all the way through analytics, we definitely focus on seeing people as they grow. So at any point in the tool, you can opt to see their history. In fact, you can see the history of the people in their team, the people who report to them. So actually history is a very important part of Sonar6 Analytics, and you'll be able to see that at any point. Okay,
that's really cool. Look, I know that one of the great things about Sonar6, and I hear this from so many of our customers, and I'm sure you do too, Jason, is that it is really one of those products that a lot of what's cool about it is it lets you see what happens to people over time. So you can see the kind of trends of people and how they're moving and so on. And it's so much more useful to understand that information. So if you just hear that someone is like underperforming, that will tell you something. But if someone is underperforming who a year ago was one of your stars, well, then probably something else is going on, right? And so I think that whole idea of being able to kind of see people over time is pretty useful. Hey, there's another question here actually from Rhonda again. I just think it's worth answering, which is does the integration team members can support the code writing for integration, or does the client organization bear the brunt of that? I think the answer to that is that we certainly have kind of standard ways of doing that integration, but maybe you want to expand on that just quickly, Mark.
So quickly, look, we've seen a lot of integrations and within Sonar6, and we bear the brunt of any new style of integration. Look, your team doesn't need to understand how to code and do those system integration pieces. Our implementation and our dev team have seen nearly every type that can come across our desks.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. Yeah, I think that we're sitting at nearly 500 clients now on this product. With certainly a lot of those people have been involved in the the iterations of analytics. So we've learned a lot about that. Hey, so I've got a question here from Dale. I'm going to answer this on myself, which is, how does this work with Cornerstone On Demand? And so, I guess that just to explain this kind of clearly, Sonar6 has become what's known as CSD, which is the Cornerstone Small Business Product. And so really this is kind of oriented towards smaller organizations. Is typically where we've played in the marketplace, whereas Cornerstone On Demand have typically been with much larger organizations. And so I think that at the moment the analytics tools you see here are really just designed for the CSD product, the product that was Sonar6. And it doesn't work with the Cornerstone On Demand enterprise product. I'm sure that you'll see that kind of change over time. Obviously, our labs are starting to work more and more closely together and kind of sharing some of the kind of hot stuff we've developed between labs. But we are very much separate, non-integrated products. Hopefully that answers your question, Dale. Hey, so look, we're running kind of towards the end of the time there. Let me just make sure I kind of have some of these last few questions answered off. There's a nice technical question from Ray here, Mark, which is how do you group factors? Obviously we introduced there the idea that you can kind of group factors. How does that actually work? What does that actually mean?
So what it means is a lot of organizations might ask some questions that they want to understand across the whole organization. Let's say they were just wanting to know leadership, even from individual contributors, how they work in teams, but how you ask that question might be very different through your management team and through your executive teams. And so you ask these in different ways, and when you do your analytics, you want to just see that as a skill set. We have a very simple way of setting that up within Sonar6, and it's a naming convention within what you call the measurements. And it is a very simple setup.
Right. So it seems that I can kind of measure people across similar kind of things, and I can kind of group those together for the purpose of creating some of these graphs.
It's very much a mandarins, lemons, oranges, a citrus fruits deal. It's something that's quite hard to do.
I kind of get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so rather than just being able to kind of compare apples to apples, I can kind of compare whole groups of fruit.
Correct. Okay. That's right, Mike.
That's excellent. Hey, I guess look, if you're an existing Sonar6 customer and you want to work out how that can be kind of specifically set up to match your needs, look, just get in touch with your implementation consultant. Hey, so a question here, and I think Jason, you're the best man for this. Is do we have any global retail clients?
Global retail clients. That's a great question, Mike. Off the top of my head, I could say, yes, we do actually have a couple global retail clients. The first one that I'm thinking of actually is Papa Murphy's Pizza, funny enough, with 1,000 franchises operating worldwide. Is a long-term client of us that has been using the tool. So, I think we probably could come up with a couple of other examples and certainly have
I can think of a lot of retail clients. I think one of the great things about this product is it really is designed to kind of be a training-free product. And so it works in an environment where you have fast turnover of staff and some of those challenges that retail has, and people can kind of get in there and start using this kind of quickly. Now, of course, we've got lots of clients, in technology and lots of clients in business services and manufacturing and healthcare, you name it. But certainly I do know we have a lot of clients in retail. Okay, hey, so look, I think that this is kind of bringing us towards the end of our time. I guess that there is one kind of question that I need to answer, and that's been asked a few times now, which is, does analytics have an extra cost? So if I'm an existing Sonar6 client and I now want to turn this analytics graph piece on, how much is that going to cost me, Jason?
If you're an existing client and you want to turn on analytics graphs, well, let's see. Let me get my abacus out here and do some quick calculations. It's actually free, 90 free. My favorite price. It is 100% for all the audience members here today. No, there's actually no cost. One of the great things about becoming a customer of Sonar6 is that all these great development, all these cool features that Mark and his team put together, they all come out as part of your subscription. So once again, another great development from Mark's team, deployed out to all of our customers without any additional cost.
Yeah, and I think that's part of our kind of promise. Certainly in this performance management space, we like to take our clients, I guess, to the leading edge of performance management. We also recognize that leading edge is moving forward, and we've got so much feedback from clients over the last few years that just says they want better and better ways of kind of analyzing the data that they're collecting through performance reviews. And so, I guess that these interactive infographics that we're providing through the grid and through this graphs page, go a long way to kind of meeting that. Okay, well, Jason, do you want to talk about getting a closer look and maybe helping people out if they want to do a free trial?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like there's a bunch more questions, which we'll certainly try to address, but we do unfortunately have to go. We're coming up to the end of our time. So I guess one thing is just that for some of you that wanted to know a little bit more about the free trial, we'll go ahead and just push out the URL where you can go and access that free trial now, and you can take a look at that at your convenience. Also, another thing that I think is probably, I guess, useful for all of those people who are in attendance that aren't current existing Sonar 6 customers, if you wanted to, you're more than welcome to come and take a look for free, once again, at our full product, not just the analytics piece, but also the piece that allows you to gather all this information up easily and usefully and engage managers and employees in performance reviews. If you want, you can just go to the URL that I'm showing you on the screen now and just register for one of our upcoming what we call deep dive webinars, where we go beyond just the analytics, looking at the entire tool in its entirety. And those are free webinars you can register for at any time as well. Gosh, you know what? I mean, looking at the clock, I guess we probably all want to just thank every single one of the audience members for giving us what looks like to be nearly 50 minutes of your time today. Hugely, hugely valuable to us to have so many people interested in not only the performance management tool that we've got, but also this exciting new technology in analytics graphs. Yeah, one of the things that we certainly want to allow you to do is always feel free to reach out to us with any questions. Feel free to contact us if you're existing customers and ask about the analytics graphs piece, or if you're a future customer, feel free to give a ring or reach out depending on which territory you're in. Feel free to reach out to us, and we can certainly answer any questions or give you more of a demonstration as needed.
Yeah, we'd certainly like to see people who want this to come to a one-on-one session, or otherwise talk to one of our implementation consultants or our support. Hey, so look, thank you, Jason, for your wonderful walk through the product. Thank you, Mark, for taking the time to kind of answer a couple of questions. And of course, like Jason said, thank you very much for all of the hundreds of attendees on this webinar. It's really, really great to have a chance to talk to you about new products. We've got some wonderful new developments coming out over the next 6 months, and we'll keep you in the loop on those certainly. So watch this space. And again, thank you very much, and have a great day or great evening, depending on which end of the time clock you're at. Okay, thanks very much, everyone.